morning. So welcome back to my discovery days. I thought today I'd make a video on what is the best flour to use for your starter, the most reactive. So I often go to the cupboard and think, well, what do I use this one? Do I use a white flour? Do I use a whole grain flour? Do I use a rye flour? A spelt flour? It goes on and on. So I thought this morning I'll do an experiment. I'll get 3 jars here, 3 different flours, and we'll see how they react or how they work over kind of a period of 6 hours, and just see them grow and see which one from looking at this would be the best one to use. So right, and this is a starter I had from last night, lovely and bubbly. So I'm going to use the golden ratio, which is like a 166 or a 155. So it's 10 grams of starter, 60 grams of water, and 60 grams of flour, or a 155 if you want to. So 166 means you have a little bit more left over for the next starter. So that's what I'll go for today. So basically here, I'll go through and put into these 3 jars my 10 grams of starter. This hasn't got to be too precise. Now, if you go a little bit under, a little bit over, it's not going to matter too much. It's going to just do its stuff. So again, it smells beautiful. So I'll put in, I know from experience, one of my spoons here is pretty much on the money for 10 grams. So I'll just go through and I'll put one of those in each here. So 10 grams, okay. As I say, it's not too, I'm going to be too exact on this. And I know this spoon is just about the perfect size for this. There you go. So they're all even there. 10 grams, so 10 grams of starter. Now the next bit I'm going to be a bit more exact. I'm going to go through here now and I'm going to actually measure out or weigh out my water. So also starter in first, then put your 60 grams of water in. I'm trying to be pretty precise here as we're going to do an experiment here. So almost there. Okay, perfect. We'll put that to one side. Next one on. Zero that. Okay, another 60 grams here of water. Okay, 61, that's good enough for me. And again, another 60 grams of water here. So a little bit over, we'll just tip a little bit that way just to make sure we are being fairly scientific here and there. Okay, that's great, so 60. So all of those now have got 60 grams of water in. Basically then just go through and give them a stir up. So just want to get it all mixed through together. Straight on there. We are going to stir it through with the flour as well in a minute, but it just kind of helps it to get amalgamated. That's great there. Last one here. So if I'm building a starter for a loaf of bread, this is pretty much what I'll use for a loaf of bread, between 100 and 120 grams of starter. Perfect. Okay, that's all good in there. Now I'll show you the flours we've got here. So I will start with, so I've got 3 flours. I've got again, organic dark rye Shipton mill flour. Uses a lot, really great rye flour, perfect. Very healthy as well. Next one, I've got an organic stone ground strong wholemeal flour. Again, a really great one here. Really use it quite a lot. And lastly, organic strong white bread flour. Again, use that a lot, really good flour. So I kind of tend to use a combo of those for my everyday bread. So that's why I thought I'll test those first. So let's go through and put, we'll put now 60 grams of our bread flour in, we'll put 60 grams first of all of our strong white bread flour in. So where it gets a bit messy. And it's impossible to get flour actually into a jar without some degree of loss to it. Right, try and be quite exact here if we can. Okay, 62. I'm happy with that. That's great. Put that to one side. We'll mix that in a minute. And the next one we're going to go for is we'll go for our strong wholemeal flour, organic. Again, 60 grams of this. Oh, okay, that's perfect in there. Okay, perfect. That's 60 of the wholemeal flour, and then we're going to go through and get 60 of the rye flour. I use rye flour quite a lot actually. I really like the flavour of it because it depends what you're used to, and it's a really healthy flour to use. Plenty of fibre in there. Oops. Okay, so that's very lucky. Okay, 60 that. Also 50 on there. Okay, 53. I'll take a little bit out of that. That's a little bit too much. Okay, 60. Perfect. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we'll take these and we'll give them a stir round. So here we go. So we'll start with just really want to just amalgamate, and it kind of ends up being a little bit like toothpaste in the end of the day once you've got these about right. So all you're doing is just mixing it through really, so it's all amalgamated through. That's lovely. And that one. I'll just clean the jar down so we can kind of have a good look at it as it's growing. Okay, so it's good on there. Give this a quick wash. This is then our wholemeal flour. Again, be about the same consistency, I think, on here. Yeah, very good. Again, give that a bit quick scrape down so it all looks good. So I normally find at the moment in this kitchen we are about 21, 22 degrees C. So I'm going to say probably at that temperature we're looking between 5 and 6 hours to get our starter. So what I'm looking for if I'm making a loaf of bread is it's doubling and a bit more. So you know you can get away with doubling, but doubling a bit more is perfect. And what I'm going to do on here as well is I'm going to actually put some elastic bands on here so we can actually see as we go through the morning how it starts to rise. Okay, let's put on there. We're happy with that. All those are looking lovely. Fantastic. So what I'll do now is I'll put these elastic bands here so we're about right there, so we can see now from here where it started from. So this jar is probably going to get up to somewhere there, doubling in a bit more. We'll do the same with our wholemeal flour. That's perfect on there. And the same thing with our white flour. So it's quite a good gauge. You can see through the day, you know, how it's rising and how much time you've got until it's ready, really. It's almost like a little clock ticking away from it. Okay, that's great. So all done there. So what I'll do now is I'll put the lids on nice and lightly. So that's a dark rye. That's our whole grain. And that's our white bread flour. So I just put them on loosely like that. And then I'll come back to these now probably in an hour or so's time, and just to kind of show you how they're growing, and maybe do that every hour just so you can see what's going on these jars. So there we go. So rye, whole wheat and white, and that's great. So come back to you in an hour's time and we'll see what's happening. So anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you again in a bit. Okay, that's great. So that's now 1 hour in. So you got maybe a little bit of rise in there, but anyway, I'll come back again in another hour's time. So definitely is you can see a few bubbles just kind of appearing slightly over here, but looking good. Anyway, come back in an hour's time and see how we're doing. Okay, great. So that's now 2 hours in. So you can see a little bit of activity in there, a little bit of bubbling going on. Just kind of rising up above the markers on there. So I think at the moment it looks as though we've got the rye flour in the lead, just by a little bit. Anyway, see you back in another hour. Well, they're all looking good there now. So that's, I think it's been 3 hours in now, just about. And I mean, they're all growing well. I think pretty level, maybe the rye one's slightly ahead, but all looking lovely and bubbly. And probably like about maybe a half to 2/3 the way through. Anyway, check back in again in about an hour's time and see how they're going. Right, great. Well, that is 4 hours now, and we're kind of getting to maybe on the right hand, on the rye one, we've just about doubled, I think, in size. Maybe not as quite as active on the white bread flour one. Middle again, the whole wheat is kind of holding its own against the rye. So anyway, that's great. So that's just been just about 2 hours. So we'll come back in an hour's time, and you know what? I reckon an hour's time you could be actually almost there because they're looking really good. And I'd say if you were going to make a loaf of bread now with any of those, you get fantastic results. Anyway, come back in another hour and have a look. Well, that's great. So that's been actually 4.5 hours now that's been on here. So looking really good. So I'd say that's done. I think that's really doubled and a bit more, particularly on the right. I'd be happy to use any of those now for making a beautiful loaf with. So there you go, that's the result. So slightly different there. I think probably the whole grain and the rye are pretty comparable actually. Maybe a little bit more activity looking at the bubbles in there on the rye. Maybe not quite so good on the white flour, but still will make a really great loaf. So that's really interesting. So I think all great. Probably the favourite there is the rye. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I shall make some bread with these now. Take care. Thanks then. Well, that's been really good today. Actually, we've had quite a warm day. So in 4.5 hours, we created really some beautiful starters. So this is our rye starter. I think this is probably the one with the most activity. Beautiful. So it's doubled and a bit more, which is really what you kind of hope for. So that would be absolutely perfect now for making into a loaf of bread. So that's great. Rye, yes, fantastic. Whole wheat, this is good as well. It's good activity in here. Maybe not quite as good. It's doubled and a little bit more on there, which is great to see. That again will make a beautiful loaf. You can see some lovely activity in here. So fantastic. Yeah, so that's a thumbs up for the whole wheat or whole grain flour. Again, both organic. Another organic one here. This is the bread flour, organic bread flour, and it's done well. It's doubled and a little, maybe just about doubled on there. Some good activity down here as well. So again, this will be perfectly fine to use. Great. Probably just not quite as active as the other two, as the rye and the whole grain. So all really a great success, and that's using the 6-1-1 principle or the 5-1-1 if you don't want to have anything left over. And so that's great. So really now I'm going to go away and make some bread. So I might even actually just combine all these three together and make maybe do a focaccia for the day, because I don't really want to kind of throw these away. And that's really fantastic. So thanks for watching. And again, all those are success, but I'd say if you make sourdough bread on a regular basis, I really would go for a rye. It's healthy as well. Lots of nutrients in there, lots of fibre in there, and also go for the whole grain as well. So I'd say these are my two picks, but particularly the rye. But really, you know, if you like a white bread flour, a white bread loaf, then you know this is also going to be great as well. So thanks for watching, and if any of you got some other ideas of what you think would be good to try out, then let me know, and we can do that. So anyway, enjoy your bread making, and thanks for watching.